Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. As promised, this video will be my full review on Assassin's Creed Mirage straight after beating it. So essentially these are my immediate thoughts of the game and of its story and some of the features that the game has to offer to us. This video does, however, contain some spoilers to the story of the game, so if you would like not to know what's happening or not to hear any spoilers of what's to come basically in your playthrough, then I suggest to stop watching the video now, as the first point will be regarding the story itself. Alright, since that is cleared out, let's get on with the review. Best way for me to start the review is with the story itself. For me, the story was well written. It did have a nice pace. It wasn't speeding up nor slowing down throughout the game. Instead, it had its own pace, it stuck to it, and it wasn't necessarily skipping some major parts. Of course, there were some cutscenes of the training montage, travel montage, but these were necessary as we don't want to, I don't know, spend 5-10 minutes of going on a camel throughout the desert to Alamut or to Baghdad. To add on top of that, what I like is that the story does feel similar to the original Assassin's Creed game, where you essentially have to work your way through the ranks in the Assassin Order by just finding and killing targets of the Templar Order, or as it's called in the newer games, Order of the Ancients. The twist, however, at the end of the game can be actually expected by us, by the players, who paid and pay enough attention to what is actually happening in the story. And if you realize that there are those similarities to the very first game of the franchise, you will see the twist. Because the game does take aspects of the original Assassin's Creed game. You find the relic, something goes wrong, so you escape. Then you work your way through the ranks, and at the end, turns out essentially your master, your mentor, is not fully honest with you and to the order as it seemed, and somehow and somewhat against you. And yeah, like I said, the twist was something me and some of my viewers did expect of happening before it even happened, just because we were seeing the similarities that the story had to the very first game. Regarding the negatives, the story might be good. However, it does lack a lot of character development, poor voice acting, and emotions are being displayed by those characters. The story might seem to be poorly written, but I did enjoy the writing of the story, how it was trying to be communicated. But it did lack those emotions, which are also important to make an effective story. 99% of the story seemed to be followed by the same tone, with barely any changes by all of the characters. And the only MVP of voice acting in this game is a side character who we meet near the end called Makira. I hope I pronounced the name right. Her emotions and character were well represented, which is a shame because her character was only for like I think 10 minutes of the gameplay, maybe less. And only if we had all of the characters portrayed with so much emotions and so much essentially character being displayed by those voice actors, it would surely make the story feel more engaging, more entertaining, and nice to follow. Because again, there was no character development. It is good in terms of Basim. Like, Basim's development was the best in the game. I'm not talking like across all other Assassin's Creed games. Just in this game, Basim's story was pretty much the best one to be developed because we were playing him, because he was the main protagonist of the game. However, I do feel like his storytelling, how his character developed, is not as enjoyable as previous games, like Origins, like Assassin's Creed 2, like Assassin's Creed 4, and even Rogue, as well as Unity. Some say that even Assassin's Creed 1 has a good story. It does. I'll give you that. However, we do receive more of the story from Altair in the future games, like in Revelations. If without that, we wouldn't have such an emotional story of Altair, to be honest with you. However, going back to Mirage, the rest have barely any character development, and it does seem like they are put there just to have more people in the story, and that's it. Compared to older games, again, side characters like Ezio's brothers, like Leonardo da Vinci, of there were side characters in all Assassin's Creed games. And we had the ones we loved, the ones we hated, the ones we could relate to. But in Mirage, honestly, I even forget who these people were. In Mirage, when we lose someone like the rebel leader we lost, that was killed, or even meet new characters, I honestly forgot about their existence very quickly. And I was like, who's this? Or did we see them again or already, or things like that? And honestly, if that was, well, better written and better developed, I think it would definitely be a better game in terms of story. But overall, I do think, with all those things being said, I will give it a 7 out of 10. Because it is enjoyable and it does link to Assassin's Creed Order, and it has those Assassin's Creed moments and links, and it does feel like an Assassin's Creed game. Now, let's get into the combat, stealth, and parkour system in the game. I did choose to talk about all three of them in one segment because they all depend on one another. You basically use them in the game all the time. They are the core mechanics, and they basically make you make it feel like an Assassin's Creed game. Without one of those or all three of them, it wouldn't be an Assassin's Creed game. I do have mixed feelings about all of them. Parkour system does feel like a combination of Unity and some old Assassin's Creed games, mostly Assassin's Creed 2 and also Brotherhood and 1. It is requiring you to be more precise with your movement than the last three games because it did remove the ability to climb anything and anywhere, which for me is a big win. Combat and stealth is all dependent on the difficulty you are playing at. We did start the stream off on medium difficulty, and we streamed the second time. And when we streamed the second time, sorry, we increased difficulty to hard. Differences were huge from the moment we changed the difficulty because it did actually have some risk involved into not being stealthy. And some of the stealth did come from the parkour as well. You needed to be precise in the movement. If you were not, your stealth, your cover would have been blown, and essentially the guards all around the palace, around the restricted area, will spot you and immediately see you, which is a big risk considering the fact that you were trying to be stealthy. And it's simple as basically climbing too far up and accidentally going over the ledge. In the other three games, I didn't have that issue. Like, you could climb somewhere, be spotted, even in a restricted area, spotted for a second, you go back, and that's fine. In Mirage, I saw more risks involved in that, even with medium and high difficulty, but the parkour system essentially played a key role in your stealth as well. Going back to the moment that we changed the difficulty, the main difference is whether you could no longer just parry and kill everyone, and getting into the fight in a guarded area was more risky. As before, we could just go to an area, have like 10 guards on us and easily get out of the fight without actually using any potions. Yes, we did use the Prince of Persia bundle, which did regenerate 20% of health after each kill, when the time was slowed, etc. But even though we didn't use that all the time, we did have the normal, the initiate weapons as well, and they were doing just as good. While on the hard difficulty, it did punish us more by doing most missions not in the stealthy way. If we didn't go to an area in stealth, if we didn't go our way inside it slowly, steadily, taking one guard by one, slowly building our way up, and just got spotted, on medium difficulty, we did have that happen a lot of times, and we always managed to come out of that easily. Whereas on hard difficulty, we haven't. Which, again, it just shows how much the combat system changes with difficulty. Also, the new Assassin's Focus feature is a nice addition, but it's dealt with the threat immediately. Sorry. It's not needed. It's nice, but it's not needed as you basically deal with threats immediately. In some cases, the game even is simpler than just by using the Assassin's Focus rather than just trying to work out which guards to deal with first and work your way through. With the Assassin's Focus, you pretty much was like, oh, there's 3 guards, 2 of them looking here and 1 of them's looking here. If I do this and that, I'm always gonna get into the fight. What can I do? If you don't have like all the tools or like the blow darts or anything like that, just throwing knives, let's say, or something, or you don't have any in your inventory. Assassin's Focus basically made it much easier because you could just throw knives around and be like, oh yeah, I don't have any knives, and you use Assassin's Focus and boom, no risk, no punishment really. Additionally, I don't feel like it should be part of the game, any Assassin's Creed game, because it just breaks and destroys what being an assassin is. You need to adapt, you need to be mindful of your surrounding and everything like that. So for me, Assassin's Focus was just an addition that shouldn't be there. And I thought the same once I saw that in a reveal trailer. I was disappointed by that being added. I did give it a chance, but I still don't like it. And last but not least, in terms of combat, killing animations. They need to be mentioned. We don't have a lot of them. There is barely any of the kill animations, which does make the combat system less attractive, more repetitive, and that is all because of lack of weapons. You only have a sword and a dagger, and for me and many of you guys is probably a disappointment, considering the fact that all Assassin's Creed games had more than one or two weapon types. Due to that, it makes the whole combat system feel boring after a while. Like at the beginning, it's all nice and pretty, but the more you play it, the less attractive it becomes because of how repetitive it is. Overall, I would still give it like these three things, I would still give it a 7 out of 10, as there are a lot of good aspects, a lot of potential being seen, and honestly, I just feel like you need to get into the game and remember the old systems, because if you focus like on the new systems that were present in Valhalla, Origins, Odyssey, there is a lot of lost potential that we don't see, which I did feel like having in Mirage, as we were slowly remembering the old moves that we could do in the older games. Alright, finally let's talk about additional features that were kind of introduced to the game, to the franchise, such as tokens, armored guards, some of the side quests and puzzles that Assassin's Creed Mirage has to offer. Mirage introduces us to a token system, which can be used to essentially bribe or hire some NPCs to distract you, or even like distract guards, give you special items for some quests, and even you can bribe some vendors to give you a discount of 10%. At first, I did see that as a nice addition to the game, as it allows you to struggle less during some of the missions in the game. At first, again, it didn't really bother me, because it did mean that I'm not losing in-game currency on bribing some characters, some NPCs, to actually be able to do something. But there was one thing that really bothered me, and it is near the end. The system was always, like throughout most of the gameplay, or mostly throughout the playthrough, as a side option. You didn't have to use the token to actually be able to progress through the story. You didn't have to do... You could use them, of course, if you had them, if you wanted them, but there was always another option to go with. But near the end of the story, just before we got on to find out who, well, not find out who, but be able to act as the last member of the Order, we were not able to progress through the game, through the story, unless we had a total of 4 merchant favor tokens, which are the green tokens that you have. Without it, you couldn't bribe a character, an NPC, who will give you a master key to a palace, which without it you wouldn't be able to access a library of the palace, to access a secret room with a secret passage where the last member of the order was hiding. Which for me, it shouldn't be an option. It shouldn't be the only option to have to progress through the story. Because, for example, for me, I didn't have that token. And I needed to do a contract and some pickpocketing to actually be able to progress through. And if you are like me, who wants to go through the story fast and only through the story fast, no distractions of side quests, side contracts, anything like that, you will essentially have problems progressing through the last bits of the story just because of that token. Which, come on, it shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be like that. We should always have like a second option. Additionally, having the ability to turn on insta pickpocketing, like, it's a nice addition. It's like giving you a choice if you want to have some difficulty or not. For me, I chose to leave that off, as I love to have something to actually train your reflexes, because essentially you had to press a small press a button when the icon was getting smaller and hit a specific area. If you did it unsuccessfully, you get you get a risk, you get spotted, and you get into a conflict, which for me is a nice addition, because again, it gives you a high risk, high reward kind of scenario. Notoriety system is also good. Despite being annoying, it's a good aspect to the game, as it encourages you to be more stealthy. You cannot kill guards in open area. You cannot even take off the poster, the wanted poster in front of people, in front of NPCs, because they will spot you and report you. And this is good because again, it makes you have a high risk, high reward scenario, and without that system, it's just like in other games where you just, oh yeah, there's a poster, just rip it off and you're done. No, in here you actually have to be careful when you take down the poster. And a lot of times, and like I said, it got annoying, but it's also part of the game. You get spotted, you get wanted, people will see you, they will report you to the guards because they will see you as a threat, which makes sense, and I love having that in the game. So, thumbs up for Ubisoft for that. Regarding the extra enemies, we did have a bit of lack of NPCs, like enemies to fight with. There were flamethrower guys, guarded guards, spear guards, swordsmen, and also the elite guys. And honestly, that's great and everything, but I do feel like it could have had a bit more, and also more upgrades. Like, we had a guard who was armored. It was nice. You had to take him off, basically either hitting him in the legs or on the back. You had to think, and also if you had more people in the conflicts, more enemies, it made it slightly difficult to actually be able to, plan your attack. And also a good addition are the mercenaries who were hunting your eagle. It's a nice addition. It makes scouting much more difficult, less rewarding, with a much higher risk, because you are not aware if a mercenary like that is in the specific area unless you use your eagle. And this, on the other hand, makes it much more difficult to scout the area, but also plan your attack and your entry. It makes it more into the fact that you need to plan ahead. You take the mercenary out, the palace will be different. Let's say you take out the mercenary and some of the guards on the way to that mercenary, so your eagle can you can use your eagle and scout the area. Nice. But let's say you die in the next conflict, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know the area. No, you don't, because the guards you've killed, you didn't spot them, you didn't see how the patrol works, nothing like that. So you are not fully prepared for that. So again, I love the addition of mercenaries hunting the eagle and making it difficult for you to scout the area from a bird's eye view and plan your attack, and makes you more of an assassin who needs to adapt and learn from your mistakes. For all those features, I will grade it a 9 out of 10 because it does have little negatives. Everything, in my opinion, was nice. The token system is good, but again, it shouldn't impact the game and stop you from progressing in the main story. Apart from that, I don't see much negatives, as everything seems great. To summarize, I grade Assassin's Creed Mirage a 7 out of 10, as the game has a lot of similarities from the first games of the series, while being optimized for the new generation of graphics, systems, features, etc. Furthermore, the story is well written, like I said before, but it does lack that passion and character and basically passion for the game, passion for the lore behind Assassin's Creed games that we all love in the first games. And to add on top of that, I am happy with how the game turned out, considering it meant to be a DLC to Valhalla. Because I do feel like if it was a DLC to Valhalla rather than a standalone game that it is, it would have turned out much worse. Just like all the other DLCs for Valhalla did, in my opinion. They were repetitive, same story, different area, pretty much, and it was boring. And I feel like they would have done the same with Basim's story in Valhalla, but it would have, you know, the same combat, same features as Valhalla, but the story-wise, it would be worse. Alright, that will be everything in terms of my review. I've included the things that impacted me the most and made me feel and want to speak about them the most. I would love to hear your opinions about the game, so feel free to tell me what you feel of what you think of the game in the comment section below. And also, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe so you never miss any of my videos or streams. And also feel free to join my Discord server, which link to it will be in the description below, where I am planning to have a lot of discussions with my viewers, with you guys, about some games, help one another out, and essentially grow a lovely community. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.